Hello and welcome to Mystic Seaport Museum. I'm Chris Gasiorek, the Vice President of Watercraft Preservation and Programs, and I'm glad to have you join me along today as we launch the steamboat Sabino.
Alright, we're about to sidetrack Sabino, which means she's on her rolling cradle. We're going to bring her along the tracks over to where we have flats in the tracks, turn the wheels 90, and then we'll push her out on the rails.
One of the first steps is to remove the extra braces that we put in to protect the ship when she's on the hard. Sabino has been out of the water for winter maintenance, and because of the delay in opening the museum this year, before we finish that work, we need to put her back in the water. Wooden hulls are always better in the water, keeps the hull wet and the seams tight, so we're going to put her back in the water until we can get the museum back up and running. Since we had her on what we call our side track, which is our secondary maintenance area, the first step is to move her into the main track so that we can roll her out onto our 500-ton ship lift and lower her gently into the water. Here's another view of our side tracking operation, fortunately from a camera sitting on the ground and not from a person, but an interesting view that we never get to see. Since we move our vessels when they're on land on tracks, we have to shift the wheels so that we can move the other way. You may think about this like a train, and you never see a train make a right turn. We use a hydraulic ram to lift each wheel, rotate it 90 degrees, and lock it in position. Once all the wheels are lined up, we're able to push Sabino back onto the lift dock where we can lower into the water. You'll see her coming at us and rolling by. Now that Sabino is in position on the ship lift, let's talk to Scott Noseworthy about how the system works.
So here we are at the Mystic Seaport Lift Dock Control Room. What you see in front of you is a basic PC that runs digital to analog. The cabinet next to you is all analog. Breakers that make the lift dock go up and down. Right now we're in our hold screen. We're going to go to our status screen. It tells us that we're in test mode and the power is not on. We go to normal, then we have to go to our main wind breaker. Turn that on. Now we're in our control mode.
And we've started lowering her down. I've sped this up about 20 times because watching it in real time is about as exciting as watching grass grow and paint dry at the same time. But here she goes. And coming up on the most exciting part, when the deck gets wet. And there it is. As soon as the hull is in the water, we'll stop and check on the bilge. Let's go see how that's going. So as we get lowered into the water, Jason is down in the bilge, making sure that there's no surprise leaks.
Nothing yet.
Actually, while we're standing here, we've got our boiler open up for inspection. Every year the Coast Guard comes and inspects the fire side of the boiler, so a view you don't always get to see is inside the boiler and the tubes. Any water, Jason?
Nope, everything looks good so far.
Sounds good. And Sabino is back afloat. Now that Sabino is safely afloat, we're going to back her out of the shiplift slip with the assist of 2 assist boats and take her down to her summer slip.
Volunteers up.
And here I am out for a boat ride with our team. We've got 2 assist boats that you'll see shortly, maneuvering the ship down to her summer berth.
Red boat's at 1,000 RPM, slow ahead.
Very well. Volunteer, just clutch ahead. So we're moving Sabino from our ship lift behind the beautiful Mayflower here. We have our 2 support boats on each side because it takes a little while to fire up the steam plant to maneuver her. So for short moves, we just put one of our work boats on each side and take her down to her slip and get her back comfortably home. Volunteer, stop.
Stop.
Volunteer, clutch ahead. Volunteer is our newest work boat, built in our shop, designed by one of our lead shipwrights, Ansel. She's aluminum, so a bit of a different project for Mystic Seaport, but really a great boat. Goes around, pumps out our bilges, maneuvers things around, pushes Sabino. Great boat for the seaport. Volunteer, stop. Volunteer clutch ahead. And if you watch between the masts of the beautifully restored Mayflower 2, you'll see Sabino moving down the river. And here's a familiar sight to many of our thousands of Sabino passengers each summer, returning to her berth after a pleasant voyage on the river. Volunteer stop. Red boat, slow ahead.
Slow ahead.
Red boat, stop. And Sabino is into her home berth. Got our shipwrights here, social distancing for line handling. Red boat's free. Thank you, volunteer. Thank you, Nicholas and Tom and Red Boat.
Thank you.
Nice job.
All right, here we are with Sabino back at our summer dock. We're looking forward to warmer weather and having visitors back at the museum when we can start operating Sabino along the river. She'll start with her half-hour cruises along the museum waterfront and downriver 90-minute cruises for the visitors to the museum and open to the general public. We can't wait to be back in season.
Thank you for joining me today at Mystic Seaport Museum for a behind-the-scenes look at how we launch one of our historic vessels on our Preservation Shipyard's ship lift. I look forward to seeing you this summer on the river and on the Sabino.